America. So at what point are we going to realize the enemies within? China and Russia are both boogeymen when the real threat is UN, NATO, and this religion. I put religion in quotes because it's not a religion, it's a death cult. Yeah, I went there. What? I don't even know what he's on. And over again, whenever right-wingers come out and say, oh, you got killed, you deserved it. You deserve to be killed by a cop. You have to always comply. Comply or die. Comply or die. But it blows my mind. It blows my mind that you got people that claim to be the real patriots here that have more of an investment in fighting their neighbors than fighting Americans that would potentially invade their country. It blows my mind.
This headline, I'd take Trump, warts and all, over our complete and utter lawyer of a PM. Maybe the US buying Britain isn't such a crazy idea.
Another thing that I was joking about that is...
Does anyone want to have a go at explaining what that means? If you're unfortunate enough to have written tons of columns, many of them, of course, from America, about why he's so wonderful and why you love him and why he's so great and why you don't care about the self-confessed sex offending or the lying about elections or the launching of violent insurrections or the pardoning of convicted drug traffickers while you're arresting or kidnapping another one, about the grabbing of women by the genitals, about the abuse of disabled journalists and the abuse of genuine military heroes, Gold Star families. If you've convinced you don't care yourself, you don't care. He's my guy. I love him. My scarf is tight. Then what are you left with now? Don't support your own prime minister. Don't support your own government. Don't support your own country. Support the foreign leader with the CV I've just described to you, with an absolutely obvious disdain for morality. Don't support your own leader. Support the foreign leader who wishes you harm.
The international reactionary movement is organized around demanding American domination over not only the global South, but also their own sovereign states. Send tweet. The international reactionary movement is organized around demanding American domination over not only the global South, but also over their own sovereign states. But also over their own sovereign states. And Joe, welcome back, Charlie Kirk. What is this? We're very happy to share some exciting news. Our family is growing. Usher! Usher's pregnant? Usher's pregante? This is literally a broken clock. This guy's an idiot. I hate this guy. He's the worst. He's the epitome of libtard, huge Starmer fanboy. This is literally a broken clock being right twice. I mean, I don't care if they're like... What you're failing to comprehend is if Starmer rolls over, as he has done so, so far, I think those guys will pull out of that allegiance as well. Usher is pregante. We are very happy to share some exciting news. Our family's growing. You know what this is, right? This is a classic. The relationship is in tatters. Another baby will fix it. This is famously what couples do when they're on the verge of divorce. Okay? Straight up. How could JD cheat on Erica Kirk like this? It's really up, by the way. I, for one, am devastated. Biologist dumbfounded as Usha Vance somehow gives birth to Erica Kirk's baby. Yeah, it's like a surrogacy program. But this time, instead of artificial insemination, he did it direct, the old-fashioned style. The old-fashioned way. He pumped it. Classic failing marriage move, hoping that another baby will fix what's broken. Maybe Usher cheated on him with Stephen Miller. They're all swinging probably. No.
Forces with him and saying, let's conquer Greenland together.
What on
share
earth
the
are you on
soil.
about?
We should conquer Greenland together.
What do you mean?
Dude, that's awesome. Is that Keir Starmer calling in? I'm Keir Starmer, and I believe we must conquer Greenland together.
Them and saying, let's conquer Greenland together.
What on earth are you on about? What do you mean? On whose authority?
Like Britain used to do in 1700.
Why would we march our forces onto Greenland? What possible benefit would we get out of that?
We'll get a share of the spoils.
Of what?
We'll
Of the territory?
Of the territory, of the minerals.
What about the 57,000 Greenlanders who live there?
Well, they're just collateral damage. As Donald Trump is, he's going to win. So either you jump with him or not.
What would stop him doing that to the UK then? I mean, if we just ignore the wishes of the people who live there and the government, then where do we draw the line?
That's the danger. So we have to join forces with him. And after Greenland, it might be Sweden.
But why does he need
again.
Greenland so much, in your view, then, Jonathan?
Why did we need India and China 200 years ago?
No, I'm asking you now.
Money.
What if the Danes say it's our territory, it's part of the Kingdom of Denmark, we're going to defend ourselves? What, you'd be happy with British forces opening fire on Danish troops?
Yes, sending the Viking boats like we did 200 years ago, yes.
I wonder if you're having me on, Jonathan. This is
not.
an
I'm totally
insane plan.
I'm 97% sure this is my dad. Oh my God. Dude, I'm telling you, these guys think that they're a part of the fucking plan. They think they're a part of the plan. And it's even dumber than the American right thinking we must invade Iraq. We have to because democracy or whatever. Or, oh, it's going to be great. They have oil. Okay? These guys think they're a part of the team. They're not. This is why I say, like, the labor aristocracy argument actually doesn't hold in this circumstance. The only benefit you get in that situation is that you are not a part of you're not a part of the population that is under the boot, right? That's the only benefit you get. You must understand. Because Osama bin Laden killed 3,000 American citizens, right? On 9/11. And then the administrations that came after, both the George W. Bush administration and Obama, led to 12,000 American forces dying in the process. Millions of Iraqis, but 12,000 American soldiers died in the process. Do you think 12,000 families benefited from this? Like, even if you don't consider the lives of all of the people slain, all of the destabilization that came after that, like the refugee crisis in Europe, all this shit, right? Like, even people who are a part of the empire, they still suffer. They suffer so that capital owners can turn profit. It's awesome. It's great. Nobody wins except for a tiny fucking group of elite pedophilic billionaires. That's it. That's what the MAGA dad will be like tomorrow. Also, please pull the son more to the left. He's too much of a lib. Important. Finally, some good news. A cow demonstrates a tool used for the first time in an experimental setting. Wait, what the fuck? Scientists say this is the first experimentally verified instance of a cattle using a tool. They're getting smarter. Cows itch just like us, but Veronica the cow takes things into her own hands, or rather into her mouth. She's tickling her butthole. What the hell? Are they evolving? What the fuck's going on? It's freaky, bro. That's a freaky ass cow. Hey, yo, chill. Freaky ass cow, dude. Anyway, Europeans are only panicking over Trump's assault on the so-called rule-based order now that they find themselves on the short end of the stick for the first time. Welcome to the world you helped build.
To Davos. President Macron is speaking.
Yeah, as a Turk, okay, in parentheses, pejorative, I welcome Europe recognizing that they are just like Turkey in this process. Nation states that feel as though they have a say in the process and maybe have had incremental gains as a part of like being in the imperial core. Turkey was never directly in the imperial core, but was a willing participant, right? NATO forces and all this stuff. And the benefit that you get is, at least for the longest time, you didn't get like dominated as hard as like Iraq did, right? But now the tables are turning. You ain't Israel, little bro. That's it. The only country that is a part of the imperial core that gets to do whatever the fuck it wants is Israel, okay? You're not Israel, France. You're not Israel, Denmark. You're Denmark. And you got land that we kind of want right now. It's looking good. It's looking appetizing. Okay? Perhaps you should have not had Greenland, you know? If you didn't want us to come and take it by force. What was Greenland wearing? President. He doesn't understand no means no. Stop generalizing the European people into what our leaders think. For fuck's sake, guys, all you Americans are literally Trump. No, dude, that's not what I'm saying at all. I'm speaking to I'm speaking to the European leadership when I say this. Okay? Please understand. Because these guys have benefited from the system. These guys have benefited from the system because they serve the same exact masters, global capital. That's it.
Taking you across to Davos, President Macron is speaking. You may be wondering about the aviators. He's apparently had eye surgery, which is why he's wearing glasses.
More than 60 wars.
What more can I say when I'm literally demanding that European leadership get their act in order and fight back against my country? Like, what do you think I'm saying? When I say Canadians, rise up in arms, okay, and fight back against my fucking country, I think you should be able to understand that I'm talking, I'm separating the population from its elected representatives, and I'm separating the population from being willing participants in American dominance, okay? And when I shit on Europeans that demand further vassalization, I'm talking about right-wing Europeans. I'm talking about right-wingers.
In 2024, an absolute record, even if I understood a few of them were fixed. And conflict has become normalized, hybrid, expanding into new domains, space, digital, information, cyber, trade, and so on. It's as well a shift towards a world without rules.
You need to get on the level of the Iranian and Venezuelan dissidents and start demanding they bomb America. I mean, I don't think it's going to get there, and I hope it doesn't get there, okay? Yeah, I'm going to be like, China, please, bomb Los Angeles now, please. Please, our people yearn for freedom. Our people yearn for democracy. Please bomb us.
Where international law is trampled underfoot,
Okay.
and where the only law that seems to matter is that of the strongest, and imperial ambitions are resurfacing. Obviously, the Russian war of aggression against Ukraine, which will enter into its fourth year next month, and conflicts continue in the Middle East and across Africa. This is as well a shift towards a world without effective collective governance, and where multilateralism is weakened by powers that obstruct it or turn away from it, and rules are undermined. And I can multiply the examples of international bodies weakened or left by the key economies. And when we look at the situation...
God damn it, here we go again, chat. I know. Kaya, I beat Kaya. I'm abusing her. Come here. Okay, it's time. It's time for you to finally get this one. I love that half of the people, half of the Kaya Gators also like just don't have dogs in general, so they don't understand that, like, you know, sometimes they is normal. Please, no, please show her mercy. Oh, this smells so bad. I will show her no mercy. Oh God, this smells so bad. I think it's a trachea or something. Oh God damn it, it smells bad. Yeah, dogs make noises, you know, it happens. Oh my God. Oh my God. Chat, when I tell you this is the worst smelling thing I've ever... Oh, it smells like straight ass. Oh, I have to wash my hands after this. Jesus Christ, that smells like straight dookie. Oh. Lick it? No, dude. Oh, no. Ugh. You want it? Oh. Oh, wait, you don't want it? Why are you looking at me? This one is, yeah, it's a trachea, I think. There was a round gullet, a flat gullet, a braided gullet, and a trachea. And I think this one is the trachea. She's eating the Kirk. Yeah. She wants you to try it? No, I'm good. Wait, hold on. Let's take a little break here. Let's see what she does. She established good positioning. Very nice. Okay. Getting into it. Did you touch your face after touching that? Ew. No, I didn't touch like the actual part that I touched. I'm going to go. She's going to lick your face either way. I know. Good form. Very good. Oh, she's already cracking into it. God damn. I don't know if you guys can hear it or not. How many gifted subs to try it? No amount of gifted subs that you can give me will help. Will cause me to try that. All right, let's continue.
It's clearly a very concerning time because we are killing the structure where we can fix the situation and the common challenges we have. Without collective governance, cooperation gives way to relentless competition. Competition from the United States of America through trade agreements that undermine our export interests, demand maximum concessions, and openly aim to weaken and subordinate Europe, combined with an endless accumulation of new tariffs that are fundamentally unacceptable, even more so when they are used as leverage against territorial sovereignty. And competition from...
Yeah. Europeans are, as Tarek Kenney Shawa says, Europeans are only panicking over Trump's assault on the so-called rule-based order now that they find themselves on the short end of the stick for the first time. Welcome to the world you help build. And just as us Americans have no say in the process, you Europeans have no say in this process either. But considering that you're not America, you should have more of a say in this process. Okay? And if you were to rise up against American dominance and demand sovereignty, you would make it easier for people like ourselves to be able to do so as well. That's it. Nigel Farage and Mike Johnson. Friends can disagree in private, and that's fine. That's part of life, part of politics. But to have the U.S. president threatening tariffs unless we agree that he can take over Greenland by some means without it seeming to even get the consent of the people of Greenland, I mean, that's a very hostile act.
Frank. You know, friends can disagree in private, and that's fine. Mm-hmm. And that's part of life, part of politics. But to have a U.S. president threatening tariffs unless we agree that he can take over Greenland by some means, without, it seems, even getting the consent of the people of Greenland. I mean, this is a very hostile act. There's no other way I can put it. Let's be frank.
Farage campaigned for Trump 3 times, by the way. No, I know. Hopefully, people will be reminded of this reality over and over again, and there will be a similar, like, Pierre Poilievre style situation in Europe as well. But it's not enough simply to lean into liberalism once again, because liberalism is done. Liberalism is over. If Europe tries to maintain its sovereignty through liberalism, it will fail. Okay, you need to go further. You need to go beyond. Same with the United States of America. Liberalism has no answer for this because this is a more honest and more vulgar version of what the liberal international order looked like anyway.
But now so many red lines are being crossed that you have the choice between your self-respect. Being a happy vassal is one thing, being a miserable slave is something else. If you back down now, you're going to lose your dignity. And that's probably the most precious thing you can have in a democracy. It's your...
Did you cover the Carney clip already? Yes. Yes, I did. To be clear, this bargain no longer works is because it's targeting them. They had no problem with false international order that targeted and subjugated brown people. Yes, this is true. This is very strong rhetoric inside the frame it exists in. Yes. Exactly. Make no mistake. all of this is going on. All these guys that are complaining endlessly about this stuff are complaining because U.S. hegemony is now threatening their aesthetic sovereignty. They didn't really have full-blown sovereignty anyway, or at the very least, they were allowed to have like regulatory agencies or have some kind of like command over how they want to exist. America let them have social safety nets. America let Europe have social safety nets. America let Europe have its own regulatory agencies so that you can have like, cleaner food and socialized medicine and the like. But now that America, by way of tariffs, is also taking that away and saying, no, you can't have any. No, you need to take our chlorinated chicken. That's it. Like, you need to take our chlorinated chicken. You need to take our massive behemoth vehicles, and you need to act as though you like it. All of that patina is gone. It don't shine no more. Now you're beginning to smell the dog and see the dog that it was this that always was this global international liberal order. A lot of people dismiss independence and sovereignty as an emotional luxury, something you get stubborn about for pride's sake, only to discover that giving up control over your fate means you don't control your fate. Okay, but Europe have not been sovereign in this formulation for 80 years. Would you really argue it was a bad deal for them before Trump? Well, that's kind of the point. You don't get to control whether the deal is good for you or not. Exactly. The only thing Trump is doing away with is the aesthetics. That's precisely the reason why it's been really funny watching all these European leaders talk for the last couple of weeks or the last week or so, saying like, you can just build as many bases as you want in Greenland, Mr. President. What are you talking about? You can do whatever you want. You can do whatever you want. Why are you saying my way or the highway? We're giving you Greenland. You already have Greenland. You have our life. You have military bases all around this continent. Like, what are you talking about? And Trump says, nope, my way or the highway. I'm going to take it by force. Same thing goes for Canada. The aesthetics are going away. The liberalism is going away. Trump is saying, no, we're doing away with liberalism. It's done. It's my way or the highway. You are vassals. You need to act like it. You need to know that you're vassals. That's it. So now comes the new world order. Do you actually try to maintain sovereignty, maintain dignity, maintain whatever way of existence you want to maintain? Or do you still end up being servile little vassal states to the United States of America because the United States of America is defending capitalism? And the alternative is far too scary because you've been taught that it's scary. It's bad for you. The alternative is socialism, and you cannot have socialism. But one thing you won't have, and I can promise you that, liberalism. It's done.
We are going to give guidance.
So the real question will now be, do you want socialism or do you want barbarism? And some people, I think, will maintain that they want barbarism. Right-wingers will. Hopefully, many of the liberals will recognize that perhaps it's time for socialism, an evolution away from American sovereignty, because American sovereignty is just defending capitalism, defending the interests of the international consortium of capital owners that have no interest whatsoever in what the working class's needs are, what the working class's demands are. They don't care about nation states. They don't care about boundaries. They care about profit, and that's it.
At some point to see what is a mom and pop, that someone, maybe your parents for their retirement, bought 5, 10, 12 homes. So we don't want to push the mom and pops out. We just want to put.
He's talking about mom and pop landlords, by the way. Good news for the forgotten man. The mom and pop real estate investor who has purchased 12 homes can breathe easy. The Treasury Secretary is looking out for you. Yeah, based. I love slopulism. Based. Armand Domolowski says, just watching the collapse of American hegemony in real time. Because Macron said we need Chinese direct investment in Europe in some key sectors. American hegemony in particular helped provide public goods, open sea lanes, a stable financial system, collective security. This bargain no longer works. Let me be direct. We are in the midst of a rupture, not a transition. Recently, great powers have begun using economic integration as a weapon, tariffs as leverage. Remember, on Liberation Day, I told you what Donald Trump is saying to other countries is we're going to fix this trade deficit. How can you fix the trade deficit if you don't have goods that they want? How can you fix the trade deficit if there is competitive domestic manufacturing taking place in those countries. Well, you fix it by force. That's it. Donald Trump uses the mechanism of tariffs to basically rewrite the way that trade is supposed to be designed amongst allies in the liberal international order by saying, look, you're going to get our chlorinated chicken, you're going to get our HGH boosted cattle, and you're going to get our corn, which many of these places already have the corn anyway. And on top of that, you're going to get our Ford F-350s, Ford F-450s. And if you don't, we'll punish you, we'll brutalize you, we'll make things really bad for you. On the other side, you have another country that is the manufacturing hub of the entire planet that is saying, oh, do you want EVs? We'll give you EVs. You want to move in the direction of renewables, into the future of energy? We got that for you too. And not only that, but it'll be incredibly cost effective. So, you know, it's a real which way Western man moment. One of the main successes of post-war order is placing a near complete taboo on de jure territorial expansion. Of course, it was replaced with vassalization and interference, but now we're returning to the vulgar original, Trump in Greenland and Russia in Ukraine. Yes, also, there is one other country that has been doing that, for the record, regardless of the New World Order, and that's Israel. An American recognition under Trump 1 of territorial expansion into Syria, the Golan Heights. Israel took over Golan Heights by force and annexed it, and Trump recognized that annexation. And in this new grand design, you're going to need other security cooperative agreements. You're going to need new security cooperation. You're going to need a nuclear security. So now countries with nukes that don't have, you know, that don't let America control those nukes, like the UK, can at the very least, demand sovereignty by force. France, I'm looking right at you. All of a sudden, the economic engine of the European Union, Germany, is no longer more relevant than France. France becomes the security guarantor for the entirety of the European continent. No, because U.S. hegemony was never about liberal values and friendship. It was always based on U.S. power. That hasn't changed. It's so funny. This is like literally the argument that I used to make about NATO over and over again, and people will yell at me so much. So I'm in this unique predicament now where on the one hand, this is a great I told you so moment, but on the other hand, I also don't like the way that America is collapsing the international order. I wish that countries could have come to that recognition on their own, independently, and through their own sovereignty initiatives, without having America literally brutalize these nation states, without America literally saying, we're going to take over your territory as well. But this is precisely what I was talking about when I talked about NATO for years. This is it. This is what I was talking about. And I hope all the liberals yelled at me because of the fears that they had about Russian incursion, fears that were realized after Russia did invade Ukraine, by the way. I understand that. Will now realize that America's doing the same from your Western flank now. So you have two options. Either you recognize American dominance and you say the alternative is much scarier, communism, Chinese communism, very, very scary. Or what you think Russia is doing, even though it's socialist or communist, right? And you're just, you're getting on both ends. Or you fight back against it. That's it. America broke all the rules first. America wrote the rules, man. It's the same principle behind consistently claiming that China is cheating. China is cheating over and over again. After China was able to actually develop and become a competitor to the United States of America and become like a real hegemonic power. Another global superpower. Anyway, where the frick were we? Well, I'm going to cover to every American who's sorry at r/Greenland. We're getting at least 10 posts a day from Americans apologizing, saying things like they didn't vote for Trump or don't support his policies. People, none of that actually matters. You can say you're different from the rest of Americans, but to the rest of the world, the distinction doesn't exist. To us, your country is a single entity on the world stage, and it's threatening its allies. Think about how you view other countries. For example, Russian opposition doesn't change what Russia does because that's their domestic politics. The same thing applies to the U.S. too, except you had the power to choose your president, and you may still have it. So instead of coming here nonstop to apologize on behalf of your country for the constant need for sympathy, focus on actually changing something while you still can. We get the same on Canadian subreddits. We know it's not Americans as individuals, but we have no choice to see them as an entity, just as they see Canada as one. We've never said we're going to use our stock of maple syrup to cover the dividend states, but the orange Mussolini can't keep our country's name out of his mouth. Oh my God. It's so funny. It's liberals are so funny. Oh man. Americans figure out the hard way. Not all men, but enough men applies to international politics too. We know not everyone supported this, but enough did. Once again, like, in some ways this is expected, but in some ways it's also unexpected. Do you want to go back to the previous setting where you at least feel like you're sovereign, or do you want to actually be sovereign? That's the question I have for people. And some might literally say, no, we want to go back to the old way where we had the feeling of sovereignty, even if we didn't actually have sovereignty. You know? Liberalism is that. From this day on, liberalism presents going back to the old method where you don't have sovereignty, but at least like Trump is building, military bases in Greenland, whether you want it or not. But at least he's not directly taking the land, right? He's not taking an ownership stake over the land. Trump amplifies post that says NATO, not China or Russia, is a part of the real threat to America. So at what point are we going to realize the enemy is within? China and Russia are both boogeymen when the real threat is UN, NATO, and this religion. I put religion in quotes because it's not a religion, it's a death cult. Yeah, I went there. What? I don't even know what he's on, to be honest.
Is a real threat to world peace.
Nothing sadder than a dog who begs for a shorter leash because it feels more free than a kennel. Damn. Damn, dude. We got poets in the chat.
It would once have been unthinkable that a former NATO Secretary General would speak like this about a sitting US president. But in an interview with Channel 4 News, Anders Fogh Rasmussen did.
The future of NATO is at stake, and
she is begging to be rolled over. You ain't slick.
The world order as we know it is at stake. So it's a very serious situation.
This as Trump from West Palm Beach in Florida continued to ramp up pressure on old allies ahead of his trip to an agitated Europe this week, doubling down on his designs for Greenland.
Well, I don't think they're going to push back too much. Look, we have to have it. They have to have this done. They can't protect it. Denmark, they're wonderful people. And I know the leaders are very good people, but they don't even go there. And, because the boat went there 500 years ago and then left, that doesn't give you title to property.
Just in case European leaders and NATO didn't get the message, he followed his words up with an image of himself planting a flag on the semi-autonomous Danish territory next to a sign saying US territory Est 2026. He also revealed private messages, giving his followers a glimpse of attempts to sway him. I'm committed to finding a way forward on Greenland, said NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte. Can't wait to see you. My friend, said Emmanuel Macron, I do not understand what you're doing on Greenland. Let us have dinner together in Paris. But already in Davos, the Belgian Prime Minister didn't mince his words.
Europe is at a crossroads where it has to decide. Until now, we tried to appease the new president in the White House. But now so many red lines are being crossed that you have the choice between your self-respect. Being a happy vassal is one thing, being a miserable slave is something else.
This weekend in Greenland's capital, furious protesters were joined by their Prime Minister Jens Frederik Nielsen on a march to the US consulate. For them, conceding to the US is out of the question. For European leaders in Davos who will be meeting President Trump on Thursday to discuss his ambitions, stay calm and cajole has been the strategy so far, and one tested to breaking point. On Saturday, Trump threatened 8 allies, including Denmark and the UK, with 10% tariffs in February, increasing to 25% in June if they don't make a deal with him on Greenland. And on Monday, he threatened to slap a 200% tariff on French wine and champagne after President Macron refused to sign up to his so-called Board of Peace, a body he says will secure the future of Gaza, and one he's invited Russia's President Putin to join. China, meanwhile, has come to Europe and Greenland's defence.
We urge the US to stop using the so-called...
I saw some MAGA dick rider get owned by other MAGA people, actually, or at least more intelligent MAGA people, if that is a thing. There's this MAGA guy who was like, well, see, you guys see what China said? Obviously, this proves that Donald Trump was disrupting their interest in Greenland. And then someone literally replied with like, dude, they own like 9% of an Australian company that does mineral extraction in Greenland. That isn't like a major geopolitical interest in Greenland. You're a moron. Like, Donald Trump is destroying one of the most pivotal, long-standing security cooperation agreements that we have so that he can just like take land over for no reason. I cannot believe it. Like, I was watching other MAGA people that are at least like a little bit more intelligent be like, what are you saying? Just because China came out and said you're disrupting world order doesn't mean that they're like actually really butthurt about Donald Trump doing this. If anything, they're smoking on the Europac. Why would they be mad about this? This is awesome. It's awesome for China. Everything that Donald Trump does is literally more in the interest of China becoming a serious player on the global stage and not this like scary, spooky socialism, the representative Chinese style communism that everyone is supposed to be terrified by because they look stable. And they are stable. They represent stability in the global order. Sigh, my parents left the wrong country. Oh no. You can be an ABC in China, chatter. At least you can still be ABC in China. Some of us whites cannot even be Chinese. At least you're ABC and not ABT, American born Turk. ABC means American born Chinese. Not ABG. That's Asian baby girl. ABC is American born Chinese, is a term that that I've first heard about in China. I'm a ABWC, American-born white Chinese.
China threat as a pretext for itself to seek selfish gains.
Never before has a NATO member threatened its own allies in this way.
ABC, the American-born confused daisy.
Is the special relationship still special? Very special, yes.
Trump ally Mike Johnson visited number 10 this...
Cuck. I mean, two cucks, really. Just cuck on cuck action.
Morning before becoming the first ever sitting US House Speaker to address the UK Houses of Parliament. In a moment designed to mark 250 years of independence, it came with a warning for Prime Minister Starmer and collected MPs.
Clearly, President Trump is taking seriously the modern and dynamic...
Oh, that's so funny. You got the Speaker of the House coming to your government and telling you guys up 250 years ago, we got independence, and now you're dude. Oh my God. Keir Starmer is such a perfect vizier for American vassalization. Okay. He is the perfect person to put in charge of a vassal state. Just a dog. Okay. Just a shameless worm, a dog who just sits there and his primary purpose is to eat America's dick. Yep, there it is. I love this photo. One of my favorite photos of all time that perfectly demonstrates the relationship between America and the UK. When we only negotiate bilaterally with a hegemon, we negotiate from weakness. We accept what's offered, says Carney. We compete with each other to be the most accommodating. That is not sovereignty. That reminds me of someone, says Aaron Bustani. I know that, yeah, the Henry Kissinger quote is actually fake. I don't think Henry Kissinger ever said it may be dangerous to be America's enemy, but to be America's friend is fatal. But it is so real. I mean, you see that with the Kurds in Syria right now. You see that with all of America's allies in the core. All around, dude. Liberals that want to go back to the old way, that think that, next time around, maybe the Democrats are going win, right? When liberals think, oh, well, Democrats will come into power and then like the system will change again, like we'll go back to the old way, are basically demanding, let's get back to us being vassals, but us feeling free. Not actually being free, but feeling free. Okay? That's all this is. Anyway, the quote gained traction from declassified documents showing Kissinger warning President Nixon that abandoning South Vietnamese President Thu would signal to the world that being America's friend was fatal. Oh. I thought he didn't actually say that. My bad. My mistake. So he did say it. And he was right, by the way. To be America's friend is fatal. And also, that did signal, well, it should have signaled to the rest of the world to be America's ally is fatal. But it didn't, because everyone was a part of the grand design, the liberal international order, where they thought, this will never come and haunt us. This will never come back to us. We will at least feel like we're a part of the team. And now Trump is saying, you're not a part of the team. You're a vassal state. Suck my dick.
Dynamic threats that China and Russia pose to our global security, especially in focus the last few days as it relates to the Arctic. And while we can have thoughtful debate about, among our friends, about how best to counter these threats, we all certainly agree they must be countered. We ignore these threats at our peril.
His emphasis on joint endeavours and the special relationship skipped over another angry missive from Trump, with Starmer in the crosshairs over a deal giving Mauritius sovereignty over the Chagos Islands, one that would still allow the...
I swear to God, every country just wants to be Israel, or at least thought that they were Israel, and they're not Israel, okay? Every vassal thinks that they had a system that was mutually beneficial. Like, they thought they were Israel, You're not Israel, dude. You were wrong. That's the only country that is not America that gets to behave like America.
UK and the US to continue operating from a base there.
If you're Israel, show me your Mossad and control over an oil-rich region, yeah. Or also an incredibly important trade route as well. Control over an incredibly important trade route, which is in striking distance of the country that controls it. Because that's going to come into play when Egypt inevitably implodes. Because that's coming too. Like, I saw, this is somewhat related, but I think Egypt's got like maximum 2 to 3 years before it completely collapses. Maybe I'm wrong, but it kind of feels like Egyptians have had enough. So much so that when iShowSpeed went to Egypt, Egyptians themselves were like, don't come to Egypt, bro. It's going to go up. It's going to be the worst. It's going to be the worst experience of all time. Like, we're cooked. The country is unimaginably corrupt. The country is actually, the country is about to explode because of how terrible the governances look like. Didn't it already collapse a few years ago? Yes. Bro, please, I'm wanted for army conscription. Send help, says Light Skin Bandit Gaming. You made a prediction, bro. Egypt will now survive for 1,000 years. Hopefully, inshallah. I don't know what it will look like, but I think that's part of the reason why America is hardening Israel to the best of its ability. Because if Egypt collapses, or if Jordan collapses, because there's a lot of instability in both of these places, okay? Then you need Israel to come in and restore order in the fascist way. Because you can't have a dangerous potential sovereign Egyptian state. That's the reason for why Israel is such a key ally in the region. Or at least one of the reasons. Bro, please, I'm wanted for roach slander, Send help. As an Egyptian, yes, the government is corrupt, but the people are not. The people stand with Palestine and against Israel. No, I know that. That's what I'm saying. That's like, listen, I think we all know by now that Mohammed bin Salman does not give about Palestinians at all. Okay? And the only reason why he takes the posture he takes against Israel is because the Saudis, the people, actually care about Palestine. Okay? And the same goes for Egypt as well. The Egyptian population literally overtook multiple police precincts a couple of months ago when the Egyptian government was like refusing to let people go in through the Rafah crossing, when there was like a period of a brief fake ceasefire. I know that. That's why I'm saying Egypt is going to collapse. The government is incredibly corrupt, but also on top of that, the people are very frustrated with the way that the government is operating, especially as it pertains to Israel and the Palestinians. Palestine, American Jordanian dual citizen here, to say that the monarchy has been holding on by a thread for the last 3 years and the only way they're maintaining the regime is because of extensive surveillance and suppression of the Palestinian Jordanian population. Yeah. Jordan is more likely to collapse. You're ruled by a foreigner who's king. The affordability there is severely worse than Egypt, and you have a massive Palestinian population. I think both of those countries are slated for an inevitable collapse. And what comes next, I do not know. What that collapse looks like and what kind of like real mobilization or organization happens in the aftermath of that, I do not know. I'm just saying that there's only so much pressure people can withstand. Why does this person say eat? One factor to remember is the last revolution only happened because the Egyptian military stepped in. This time the president is in full control of the military and filled the ranks with his people. Bro, it's not dissimilar to what's going on in Iran, except this time it's a little different because Iran is a foreign adversary and has been crippled by sanctions. But like, there's only so much pressure and so much repression you can apply to the population until they decide, you know, it's YOLO time. We're taking up arms. Like, yes, Mossad involvement and American weapons or Israeli weapons were used or Turkish weapons were used in the uprisings that took place in Iran, certainly. But you still got Iranians pulling the trigger, okay? How do you get Iranians to pull the trigger against their own police? There's real resentment there. And that resentment is obviously partially born out of the economic instability that America caused with its sanctions, but it's also born out of, people experiencing great discontent with the state and the way that the regime strikes people down, refuses to listen to their interests, and tries to maintain its own base of support and their needs and their interests by continuously using like their version of like this Islamic rule upon the Iranian population. But eventually, that with the economic collapse, you are going to chip away at your own base of support as well, just like what happened when the bazaar owners, like the little market owners and the little shop owners, were the starting point for this round of struggle.
But Trump, despite his Secretary of State Marco Rubio describing it as a monumental achievement last year.
The death toll in Iran is in the thousands, admitted by the government, by the way. Remind some members of your audience who were yelling all CIA. I mean, I didn't do that. No matter how much naysayers try to turn the situation in Iran into a petty disagreement or something, there is CIA and Mossad intervention and involvement, but that doesn't mean that there isn't like very real anger and resentment. Remember, it's not like those were, even if you have, Israeli weapons or Turkish weapons or American weapons being shipped into the country, it was Iranians that were pulling the trigger. Yes, the numbers are not in like the 20K in the way that people are presenting it. But that doesn't matter because 2,000, 4,000, like those are insane numbers, especially over such a short period of time. CIA and Mossad have also hijacked the narrative and turned it from the economy to repression. That's why you continually saying it's about repression is harmful. That's not true. There's never been a moment where I haven't talked about the economy. That's ridiculous. Egyptian parking ticket police also corrupted. Couple cigarellos will do it.
Has posted that it was an act of great stupidity, and another, he said, in a very long line of national security reasons why Greenland has to be acquired. It's a blow for the Prime Minister and his carefully choreographed and until now war.
As far as having Iranians pull the trigger, don't color revolutions have locals doing the actions? On this topic, I'm an idiot. Yes. Yes. It is. Of course. It always is. Yes. The level of foreign intervention and even color revolutions cannot actually lead to success if there isn't already existing discontent that has not been acknowledged, discontent that has been quietly or forcefully suppressed over and over again by a militant state. That's the point that I'm making. If you don't actually lean into the desires of your base or the desires of your population, then yeah, you're gonna have these troubles, and they're gonna grow. The more people you kill, the more family members join the fight and demand vengeance. You can't just like arrest an increasingly larger number of dissidents. Okay, it's just not. There's not. One must ask the question why the Iranian Revolution took place to begin with, because that's what they did. And sure, the base of support that the Shah had was, still much smaller than the base of support that the Ayatollah has. But eventually, something's going to give. When people say mean stuff about you, how do you deal with it? I get bullied sometimes at school. I don't know what to do. First of all, that made me very sad to hear. And I'm sorry that that's happening to you. But one thing you always have to remember is that people that do that to you, people that bully you, are actually doing it because they're sad. Okay? It's always because they have something horrible going on in their own lives, and they have to take it out on someone like yourself. Okay? To make themselves feel powerful. It's because they're weak, it's because they're cowardly, it's because they refuse to address whatever issue is going on in their lives. And that's the reason why they turn it on people like yourself, or even on the internet, people like myself as well. Now, obviously, it's a little bit different for, in my situation. It's a little bit different in my situation because, I sometimes get a glance into the lives of what my naysayers look like. And obviously, I'd much rather be myself than them. But that's something that you have to also remind yourself. You are powerful. You're strong. You're your own independent person. And you shouldn't let people's behavior like that get to you. I yelled at quite a bit. I was bullied quite a bit when I was growing up as a marabou in Turkey, right? And I spent most of my days drawing, keeping to myself. I had, some close friends, of course, but ultimately, look where I'm at now. Yup, drawing own porn. Okay, everyone needs to calm down, all right? The things I tell you, you shouldn't be throwing back at my face like this. According to your recent guest, it's all about growth. Ask him about the bathroom stalls.
Oh, yeah. So growing up, I used to eat in the bathroom stalls. I used to be super introverted. Like, I would never go up to anyone or talk or strike convos or, sit with anyone. Fuck? Yeah, so when I would eat at school, I would walk to the bathroom stalls and I would eat in the third stall. Like you know how they have the handicap stall?
So people were
yeah,
like next to you.
Yeah,
and you were just eating tacos while they're right next to you.
Yeah,
Did you ever bully anyone back? No, never. No. I think I'm far too kind. Like I never ever did that. Like I wasn't even like a bully to the bullies, I think I do that now a lot more. I do that now because I have the power to do that now, and I do that for others who are getting bullied, But And no, back then I didn't do that at all. I just focused on myself, focused on self-improvement. And, you know, the results speak for itself, I guess.
I get sick every now and then, but it's because it was just hard for me to, like, talk to people. But,
Bro, that is so sad.
yeah.
That's one of the saddest things anyone's ever revealed to me. You volunteer this information to people?
Yeah, but it was character development. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, looking back, I was like...
You were eating dookie air.
I wasn't eating dookie air, bro.
Yeah, bro. Ask him about the bathroom stalls. Was the library not an option? No way. That was the next best choice. Was going outside not an option? Information only Batman could get out of me when my head under his tire. Yeah, he folded under zero pressure. Bro folded under zero pressure for no reason. I was in your class. You bullied me. Okay, chatter. Thanks for the advice. You are my top 3 favorite streamer. But anyway, nowadays, obviously, on the other side of it, right, after all of that period of struggle and self-development, it doesn't necessarily bother me at all when some random dickhead online is talking about how much I suck or how evil I am, right? Because who gives it? I have a pretty sweet life, you know? No, it's not that I'm desensitized. It's just that, you know, I have a pretty awesome life. Let's be real. He'd be number 1 if he gained more. True. And the people that are doing that are objectively having a tough go at it. Like, even, did you answer Chatter's question? I did. Even, dude, even someone like Asmongold, like, you think he's having a great time? I don't think so. He could engage in self-improvement. He could be a happier person. He could clean his house. You know, he could go to the gym, go outside, develop relationships with real human beings every now and then. And he would probably be a much happier person overall. But he doesn't do that. And he lives in miserable conditions. You did get him to clean his room? I mean, sure, okay.
Warm relationship with Trump, a sign of dramatically shifting dynamics, of diplomatic whiplash.
Seems like you really revel in calling people cucks, bald, short, etc., etc. Maybe you fell off. Yes. I've fallen off spectacular style. Hopefully one day you guys can fall on to how much I've fallen off.
Being felt nowhere more than in the Swiss mountain town of Davos, where global leaders meet this week.
Joining me now from the World Economic Forum in Davos is the former Secretary General of NATO, Anders Fogh Rasmussen, former Prime Minister of Denmark. Mr. Fogh Rasmussen, Emmanuel Macron, the President of France, says he doesn't understand what Donald Trump is doing with Greenland. Do you? Can you enlighten him and us?
No, I don't understand it either. And the serious thing is that the future of NATO is at stake, and the world order as we know it is at stake. So it's a very serious situation.
Perilous indeed.
Yes, it is. So I think we have to engage in a more constructive discussion. President Trump wants to acquire Greenland, but Greenland is not for sale, and you can't purchase something that's
Trump knows. That's why he's taking it for free 99.
Not for sale. So his only means of acquiring Greenland would be to conquer it by a military action, which of course would mean the end of NATO.
Denmark has sent 100 troops into Greenland. Doesn't it need to be much more forceful? You know, it's the only language that Donald Trump understands, the language of power. Doesn't a far larger contingent now need to go into Greenland?
Time has come to stand up against Trump. I would appreciate a stronger presence of NATO troops in Greenland, and I think the European Union should respond determinedly if Trump carries out the special tariffs.
Your successor as NATO Secretary General, Mark Rutte, sent the most sycophantic, I guess, message to Donald Trump, praising his accomplishments in Syria, in Gaza, in Ukraine. Is that the wrong approach? Is that diplomacy 101, or is it sycophancy?
Well, as I said, so far I think it has served us well. But I think enough is enough. He is threatening the current world order that has served us for so well for so many decades. And that's why I think time has come to stand up against him. The only thing Trump respects is force, strength, and unity. And that's exactly what Europe should show now.
Is NATO dead because Trump has threatened a NATO ally?
It does not make sense to have a collective security organization where the major ally attacks another ally with the aim to take territory. So it would be the end of NATO.
Standing back, it seems extraordinary that we're having this conversation. When you look at what's happened just in the last few days, you know, Donald Trump plants a Stars and Stripes flag on Greenland, an AI image. He threatens a 200% tariff on French champagne simply because Emmanuel Macron won't join his peace board. He suggests that he'll wage war on Greenland because he didn't win a peace prize. Do you agree with the Conservative peer Dan Hannan, who said today he has plainly now lost his mind?
Actually, the fact is, Trump uses the same kind of language as autocrats in Moscow and Beijing. Putin and Xi Jinping use exactly the same language, and they applaud this.
Dude, you got to uncuck your mind, brother. Brody, uncuck your mind. Dude, what can China do for these European, these Euroid dipshits to turn around and be like, you know what? Actually, we were wrong. We were wrong all along. Like, America will be like, we're taking over Greenland and maybe Norway's next. And these guys would be like, well, what if the Chinese were to do such a thing? Think how terrifying that would be. It's crazy. It's crazy. Bro says, stop arming Russia. They're not talking about that, though. They're talking about how China's doing the same posture, okay? America is doing Russia directly, okay? Remember, there's no like, oh, China's trade maxing with Russia as it's destroying Ukraine. Okay, sure. America is directly doing Russia on the western flank. What do you mean? Like, how? How do you still go, but China, in a situation where America's like, NATO, suck my dick. Actually, you're going to keep the NATO situation going, and I'm going to Greenland by force. And they're like, no, you don't understand, Mr. President. You can actually put the base on there. And he's like, no, I don't just want the base. I want like the land. I want the land. You're going to give it to me. You're going to give me the land. And these guys are like, whoa, what about the Chinese? What are they doing? Did they take Greenland? It's called racism. Welcome to Europe. I know, but like, racism works at the domestic level when you're like, these goddamn immigrants are coming in and taking advantage of our social safety net, so we should just like kill ourselves. We should kill our social safety nets altogether. That's how it works in America. That's how white supremacy works. But at a certain point, like, adults in the room are supposed to be like, okay, I think out of the two major powers on the planet, like, one represents stability, even though they don't look like us. And I'm a little fearful. They say they're communists. And the other one is literally invading us. Yeah, I would assume at a certain point you have to go, yeah, I kind of don't want the guy invading me. I will go with the other guy who is not invading me. You don't understand, they're coping. They think Trump is just playing hardball for a deal on rare earths and bases on Greenland. Yeah, but Trump could have gotten that already. People will be like, oh, yeah, well, what about the Chinese? They might take Taiwan. It's like, bro, America already has multiple Taiwans that they've taken over. Actually, it's not Taiwan. America taking over Canada would be like beyond pale. Like, oh my God. Like, I'm trying to find an equivocation, but there's nothing I can even think of. Like they'll say, oh, Hong Kong. They'll say, oh, Taiwan. It's like Hong Kong was on a colonial loan to the United Kingdom. Taiwan is almost entirely now comprised of Chinese people that escaped with all of Chinese gold and as much Chinese wealth that they could possibly take so that they could create a secessionist country on the island of Formosa. Yeah, America is pulling a... It's Hitler taking Poland. We just need to say that. Yeah, I wouldn't say it's Austria. I can't even say, like... I don't even think it's like... There's no... Like, the equivalence is crazy. It's like we are going back to colonial powers. Like, we're going back to, like, monarchies, you know? Why didn't they invade immediately? Wait, you mean with China and Taiwan? Because the Korea War happened. That's why. Because when Chiang Kai-shek and the Kuomintang forces escaped the mainland and went to Taiwan with as much gold as they could have they could get their hands on, Mao Zedong wanted to literally go into Taiwan as well and, you know, nip bud. But then the Korean War was happening, and the already reduced Chinese forces had to go in and defend Korea from the American took place. Chiang Kai-shek. Wait, what do you mean? That's what I said, didn't I? I didn't say hi. I said Kai. Did I not say Chiang Kai-shek? Okay. The accent you do is racist. What? The European one? Your fake accent is racist. Okay, calm down.
Split across the Atlantic. They will be the winners if they see the transatlantic community erode. So it doesn't make sense.
Has he taken leave of his senses?
I don't know, but my observation is there is no strategy behind President Trump's behavior.
I wonder why you're reluctant to answer that question, because you've said, you know, it's time for flattery is over. So speak plainly. Do you think the people who say he's gone mad are right?
Yeah, but well, I think it is senseless the way he's behaving.
You described Donald Trump as behaving like an autocrat, like Putin, for example. And of course, he's invited Putin to his peace board. He's invited also autocrats from Belarus and Kazakhstan. Is he, Donald Trump, the biggest threat now to world peace?
Yes, indeed.
Wow. Wow. Okay.
Overnight, President Trump agreeing to meet face-to-face with NATO allies this week as European leaders race to rein in his push for Greenland. The president, who heads to Switzerland later to...
I just don't know how he's gonna... Like, I don't know if he truly wants Greenland in its entirety, or if it's like an autonomous zone or something. Maybe he can say he liberated Greenland and act as though he like gave Greenland independence and it becomes like an autonomous American zone or something. Like, I don't know. I don't know if he just like genuinely wants it. He says he genuinely wants it. I understand that, but it's just such a stupid thing. Like, what I do feel like, however, is that if he actually does, you know, straight up forcibly take Greenland, like conquer Greenland, he will do it to Canada too. I guess maybe he'll like turn it into Puerto Rico or something. I don't know. COFA agreement might be the only way off this ramp and save face. Russia took Ukraine. He wants to do it as well, like a power move to show and expand as well. No, I don't think it's like that. There's a giant conspiracy with ice caps melting. China and Russia will be able to trade through the north. I mean, it's not a giant conspiracy. That's literally what is going on. Yes. An opening of a new trade route. I don't think that's a conspiracy theory at all. I think that is literally what is happening. And they want to have control over that. But you already can have bases in Greenland. Do you guys not understand? NATO means you can put as many bases you want in Greenland, okay? And that's actually what the Danish have said as well. They're like, Mr. President, like, what are you doing? This is we're a NATO country. Like, we invaded Iraq for you. Put as many bases as you want. You had bases in Greenland. A ton of bases.
Today for the World Economic Forum in Davos, posting he has agreed to a meeting of the various parties. Writing, as I expressed to everyone very plainly, Greenland is imperative for national and world security. There can be no going back. On that, everyone agrees. But NATO leaders are racing to de-escalate. Trump has threatened 8 NATO countries with punishing tariffs after they sent forces to Greenland in a show of support. Trump now revealing private text messages he received from French President Emmanuel Macron, saying, "We are totally in line on Syria. We can do great things on Iran. I do not understand what you are doing on Greenland." A source close to the French president confirming the message is genuine. It comes as Trump attempts to downplay his own text messages to Norway's prime minister, insisting his Nobel Peace Prize snub isn't a factor in his push for Greenland.
No, I don't care about the Nobel Prize.
Over the weekend, Norway's prime minister texted...
Okay, but you brought it up. Like, I don't think that's the primary reason here. Guys, come on, be real. Don't be liberals, okay? I don't think that's the major reason. But why bring it up? It's just a flex, I guess, to be like, because he is mad and he wanted to like show that he's mad, I guess. But like, I don't think that's the major reason. Although I will say, I don't see him invading FIFA. You know, so I guess there is evidence to suggest that if you do give him a prize, he won't invade you, you know? So I don't know.
Trump asking to work things out over the phone, but Trump firing back. "Dear Jonas, considering your country decided not to give me the Nobel Peace Prize for having stopped 8 wars plus, I no longer feel an obligation to think purely of peace, although it will always be productive."
He's such like, this is such a thing to do, especially as the American president. Like, oh, you did this. I don't even want peace anymore. Yeah. You don't give me a Nobel Peace Prize? Well, guess what? You gave it to Barack Obama, but you wouldn't give it to me. Yeah, have fun with that. He's a petulant child. Iran needs to give Trump a gold mine and a tower with the only casino in the whole of Iran, and it doesn't work that way. I wish it did, but it doesn't work that way because Israel will intervene. That's the one country that can't do that, actually. Every other country can win favor with the king as long as they play ball in the courts, you know? My lordship, we have given you a $400 million plane from the glorious nation of Qatar. And then Trump will be like, "Qatar is so good. It's so nice to me. I love them. Al Jazeera, one of my favorite news stations. Very nice. Have you ever seen Doha? It's beautiful." But like, that's the one country that can't do that is Iran, I think. Unless they straight up were like, yeah, by the way, Qatar did that and still got bombed twice. Like, they did do that. And then they got bombed. And one was Israel. And then the other was when Iran bombed Qatar as retaliation for Israel and America. So I guess you could say both times were because of Israel.
Dominant, but can now think about what is good and proper for the United States of America. He's very preoccupied with the Nobel Peace Prize, the Norwegian Prime Minister told reporters. And as I've explained to him many times, it's an award given by a Norwegian committee, not by the Norwegian government.
If anybody thinks that Norway doesn't control the Nobel Prize, they're just kidding. They have a board, but it's controlled by Norway. And I don't care what Norway says.
Trump refusing to back down, overnight posting this edited image of an August Oval Office meeting with global leaders, showing the American flag covering Greenland. And this fabricated image of himself planting the American flag with a sign that says Greenland.
I guess I didn't think it would be this stupid. You know? Like I was expecting it. I just wasn't expecting it to be this dumb. Does that make sense? Like, it's definitely dumber than I envisioned it to be. Like, I joked about how stupid it will look, but I didn't think that it would be this much. War propaganda is always this dumb. Now it's just faster. I mean, but this is like back in the day, war propaganda was conducted by, I mean, it was designed by artists and you know, creative writing went into it. Like, now it's so blunt. You are sane washing him, lol. No, I am not sane. There is no sane washing this. Hello? You can't look at what's in front of you. What do you mean sane washing him? Yeah, I guess RIP Scott Adams. Scott Adams is dead, and so is right-wing propaganda. Are we sure it's an AI image?
U.S. territory. All eyes will now be on Davos as world leaders gather. They are going to try to turn down the temperature and convince Trump to back away from this insistence on taking Greenland and his threat of those punitive tariffs. But the Treasury Secretary, Scott Bessent, speaking to reporters there in
Bro, the average American is dumber than a baboon that works on their supple minds. Yeah, I think Americans have basically knotted themselves up into this like dumbass pretzel trying to lean into like what their immediate resentment is. I saw a report outside of I think it was the Broadview ICE facility. People were talking about, reporters were talking about how like a big chunk of the ICE agents are like black and brown. One very interesting aspect of like what Trump is doing with ICE is that there are a lot of black and brown ICE agents, right? And it's really interesting to see like Americans, even like white supremacist Americans or Americans that have like all of this, you know, unrealized, unchecked white supremacist attitudes, watch black and brown ICE agents brutalize like white suburban moms and not even feel some type of way. And then a reporter was talking about how they were outside of the Broadview ICE facility. And one of the black ICE agents was saying like, well, y'all weren't protesting when there were black people being trapped in here. And it's like do you not? Like, what? So you do recognize what you're doing up. Like, what? Still regurgitating DEI ICE talking points? Wait, what? I mean, if you don't recognize that American fascism is very, very diverse, I don't know what to tell you. The American fascist movement and American fascism is very American. And by that, I mean very diverse, because to be diverse is to be American, ironically enough. Bro, there was a Somali ICE agent in Murderapolis, okay? Like, what are we doing? Like, there are ICE agents that are like of Somali American descent, Somali American background. That's it. We are a country where there have been old Asian men that have done mass shootings, girls in school that have done mass shootings, black white supremacists that have done mass shootings and school shootings. Like, we're a country that is so diverse that to do a school shooting is to be American, okay? And because America is a very diverse country, the expression of white supremacy as the domineering American ideology is going to be expressed by different subsects of America that happen to be incredibly diverse. Yeah, this is the Somali ICE agent getting yelled at. Crazy thing is how many Latinos are in ICE. He could have been frauding with us, shaking my head. Okay, but that's still kind of funny. I'm sorry. It was a moment of weakness. That's.
work for it.
Unironically, it's more of a testament to how diverse white supremacy is. I mean, yeah. They cooking his ass in Somali. And then he walks away. It's just like, it's crazy, man. It's crazy. It's crazy. It's crazy. Okay. It's never been like this. I mean, sure, there's always been like, there's always been capos or you know, race traders, things like that. You know what I mean? Like, there's always been people that have, like, not race trader, that's a white supremacist terminology, but you see what I'm saying? Like, people that have been a part of the out group that will then go and dominate their own people, dominate their own ethnic minority group, things like that. Compradors, right? I was thinking more so of Clash Trader, which is a much more common thing that happens, right? But this is, yeah, pick me, sellouts, all this stuff. But it is common, but it's never been this. I guess what I'm trying to say is it's never been like the majority, right? Or close to the majority. Because if you look at the numbers, I mean, first of all, Customs and Border Patrol, the majority are Hispanic, right? Like for every like one Jewish collaborator with a Nazi, you had 99%, you know, white Aryan Nazis or people who believed that they were a part of it. For every group of Slavs that align with the Nazis, like the ones in Ukraine, there was, you know, 100-fold in the army and the forces of the USSR that were working to liberate the concentration camps. So like the way that the percentages have shifted so much that like you have a majority of like black and brown people working in dominating black and brown people is crazy. These goddamn Hispanials taking ice jobs from the good whites who deserve them. When is someone going to say something about these Latinos taking our ice jobs? I want to do white supremacist racism, but them goddamn Latinos, they work extra hard. They work much harder than me. I hate it. That's right. They finna slime that ICE agent at Juma. He is not making it to Juma. Okay, let's be real. It's just, it is fascinating. It is like so uniquely American. It's a testament to American diversity, which is ironic because the entire agency is supposed to purge America of its diversity. Meanwhile, it is the most diverse agency out there. I don't know. It's just shocking. Oh, a PC term for the phenomenon is subject race from Zoran's dad.
Switzerland this morning saying, quote, everyone should take the president at his word. George.
NATO has never.
Any response to President Macron saying he will not join the border peace?
Oh, did he say that? Well, nobody wants him because he's going to be out of office very soon. So, you know, that's all right. What I'll do is if they feel like Costo, I'll put a 200% tariff on his wines and champagnes, and he'll join. But he doesn't have to join. If he said that, you're probably giving it to me a little bit differently. But if he actually did say that.
It's crazy how well this video of you talking about ICE from 7 years ago hasn't aged.
And I did not speak out.
Yeah,
First they came for the communists.
I did this. I wrote this piece in 2018.
And I did not speak out because I was not a communist.
ICE is Gestapo, a state-sponsored law enforcement division created to wreak havoc in our communities, separate families, and punish people, well, overwhelmingly people of color, for the crime of wanting to pursue the American dream.
When you commit a crime against this country, enter the country illegally, you should be worried.
ICE terrorizes your neighbors with its indiscriminate exercise of force and has less to do with violent criminal apprehension than ever before. You don't target jaywalkers when you're trying to end violent crime, so why do ICE targets range from teenagers in middle school to little girls with cerebral palsy on their way to the hospital? And no, I didn't misspeak. ICE literally apprehended a child with cerebral palsy.
A 10-year-old girl with cerebral palsy faces deportation after her ambulance was stopped at an immigration checkpoint while on her way to get emergency surgery.
Do you feel safe? I feel much safer knowing that this criminal is getting deported.
Then they came for the socialists, and I did not speak out, because I was not a socialist.
And it doesn't end there. Just look at Long Island, for example. Remember at his State of the Union where Trump made it seem like Long Island had been overtaken by Salvadorian murder gangs raping and killing indiscriminately? And by the way, MS-13 has been responsible for a high number of murders in the area, I will admit that. And violent criminals and gang members who are here illegally should absolutely be deported. However, ICE has used this statistic and Trump's constant fear-mongering to justify what The Intercept calls the new school-to-deportation pipeline. Now, in the Long Island school system, undocumented minors are not protected by the law, and they can be reported for insanely trivial things like a scribble on a notebook or for wearing a Lady Gaga
lib. I mean, dude, like, once they carry out their penalty for their crime, yeah, it's fine. Deport someone. As long as justice is served. What are we talking about? Like, if you're MS-13 or if you've someone and you go prison after you go through the court system, like, or even if there is like any sort of process where they think like there's a real assurance, like once due process takes place, I don't have an issue with that. But there's a difference between that and whatever this administration is doing. This is also the other side of this argument, right? Whenever we talk about borders, like when people go, oh, well, a nation without border is not a nation at all, or like, oh, you want open borders. There's no such thing as open borders, okay? It's not like that at all. Freedom of travel actually makes this process expeditious and less likely to be in any way, shape, or form controlled by, the black market. Like, I want people that want to come into the United States of America to be able to come into the United States of America with proper background checks and no restrictions. Oh my God, I'm effing again. That's awesome. I don't know what's going on with my internet today. Oh my Lord, the internet today is so cooked. What? Okay, it should be back. Okay. You suck, Hasan, your future girl says. Tier 1, previously subscribed. Your future girl. You suck, Hasan. You're not my future girl. Anyway, the point I was making earlier is that I want there to be a safe and easy method of travel, a safe and easy way for people to get gainful employment inside of the United States of America. Okay? That is the appropriate measure to take here. I want the people that are here that don't have American citizenship, that have been here for years on end working for pennies on the dollar, to get the proper documentation. I understand immigration for what it actually is. It's paperwork. It's a paperwork crime. Okay? And I think the penalty for a paperwork crime should match the actual severity of the crime itself, the harm. And there is no harm for people that come here to seek out a better life, to get gainful employment. It's ridiculous. It makes no sense.
T-shirt, which no one should be punished for. Lady Gaga's great. And if you're not documented yet, even if you're waiting on your green card to arrive, you basically have no rights.
Then they came for the trade unionists, and I did not speak out, because I was not a trade unionist.
And ICE not only deports children, which is already incredibly inhumane, they also target immigrants who are involved in political advocacy. They detain activists for absolutely frivolous reasons. For example, citing a 10-year-old driving infraction, ICE arrested Eliseo Dorado, who is the husband of a sanctuary church leader in Colorado. Last year, ICE detained and threatened to immediately deport dreamer Daniela Vargas right after she spoke at a rally opposing a proposed state anti-immigration law. But what does the director of ICE, Thomas Homan, have to say about all this?
I'm enforcing laws that they've enacted. I'm enforcing laws that the president signed.
Except that's not exactly the case, because the authorities always enjoy a great deal of discretion over which laws are enforced and how severely. The laws and enforcement in the previous administration kept ICE in check, directing agents to steer clear of otherwise law-abiding residents, even if they were undocumented. So basically, grandma doesn't get the boot for a broken taillight because is inhumane. Yet even with those directives in place, the Obama administration still deported more people than Trump in his first year. But there's one area ICE has nearly tripled its enforcement on: non-criminal immigrants. Now, under these new directives, ICE happily targets low-hanging fruit, severely increasing the amount of legal permanent residents, since to a racist lord like Donald Trump, these are just numbers on the board.
Then they came for the Jews, and I did not speak out, because I was not a Jew.
It doesn't matter if you're a law-abiding legal permanent resident. Even if you're here legally and ICE doesn't like your tone, or if you have a tiny smudge on your record, they will target you for deportation. It doesn't matter if you were brought here at the age of 1 and 29 years later your 5-year-old son is battling leukemia. ICE will first tell you you're not a priority when you submit an application for sanctuary, then they'll detain you years later. No one is safe. Community leaders and business owners of immigrant backgrounds are subjected to intense scrutiny and get detained. Even doctors aren't safe.
A doctor has been arrested, detained by ICE after living in the U.S. for nearly 40 years.